But what about credit scores? Like, do I have to have an 800 credit score to buy a home?
It's nice if you have an 800 credit score, but you certainly don't have to have 800.
Welcome to another episode of The Den, brought to you by the Knox Fox Real Estate Group. This is a podcast geared towards everything housing and our growing community here in the greater Knoxville area. Today I have a special guest with me, Vicki Williams with Movement Mortgage. Man, Vicki, you and I have known each other for a long time.
A very long time.
So I know I moved here in 2007. Hung my license over at Realty Executives, and you were more or less like one of the in-house lenders.
Yes.
Back then, I think it was Wells Fargo.
Yes.
If I'm not, so that was back in 2007. So that's been a hot minute. Just so everybody knows, how long have you been in the mortgage industry?
Okay, so it's been a very long time. So I'm going to say 3 decades plus. I don't want to, people are going to think, gosh, you're so old. So 3 decades plus.
That's seasoned. You're seasoned.
Seasoned.
You're
yes,
a seasoned
I'm a
veteran.
Exactly.
So you've done a lot of loans. You've seen a lot of things in that time frame. I mean, matter of fact, speaking of 2007, I mean that shortly after that was, man,
The Great Recession.
yes,
It was insane.
it was, and so a lot of changes in the lending world, and you've been trucking right along through all of that, and now. In the last several years, I don't know how long it's been. How long have you been with Movement Mortgage now?
11 years.
11. Wow. So that's a lot longer than I
Goes
I
by
thought.
fast, doesn't it?
It does. It does. And so now you're currently located. Your office is near the Costco,
It
right?
is. So everybody knows, membership or not, they know where Costco's is.
Yes.
Because either they're going to Costco's or they're avoiding the traffic.
They're here.
Yeah, so I'm right off of Level Road, 114 Level Road.
Awesome. So right here in West Knoxville. And so with that being said, you're for those people who are not in the know, when I say a mortgage loan originator, what exactly is it that you do?
So everybody does it a little different, but at Movement Mortgage, that's all we do is mortgages. So we're a residential mortgage lending, and so we do all things that are zoned residential. So when someone is looking to purchase or refinance or do a reverse mortgage, that's what I do.
Okay, so very specialized. That's what I like. It's what so just to kind of go back, you actually helped me with my first mortgage here. You've helped a ton of our clients. But what I like about it is very different from, say, a bank, because a lot of consumers may walk into their bank and then just happen to talk to somebody and then get a loan. At a bank, they don't just do home loans. They do car loans, they do personal loans, they do credit cards, they do all this other stuff. So you're very specialized in the fact that this is what you do. The benefit of that is you know it inside and out.
Exactly.
One of the things I really appreciate you just brought to us, we got to do a podcast with Trey Perry with Movement Mortgage, who does renovation loans. So again, very specialized. That's a person who just does renovation loans. And there's something to be said. We just do residential real estate. We simply help people buy and sell homes.
Well, you say that, but you're like a one-stop shop. If you need an electrician or someone to pressure wash or insurance, like that's what I love about the Knox Fox. Your clients just come to you for everything. And if you don't know who the resource is, you're going to find
one.
it.
Yeah.
And it's the same with me. When I close a loan, I tell them, hey, if you need anything, just give me a call, because I want to help way beyond the closing.
But when it comes to the housing space, that's where we play. We don't do commercial.
Yeah.
We don't do property management.
Which you should, by the way. I've been working on you. I'm still working on you.
But I've always said I want to be the master of one. Like, I want to know one thing inside and out to where people can trust us. And so it's the same way with you. So tell me a little bit about what you offer consumers as far as mortgage, like, opportunities. Maybe I'm moving into town, or maybe I'm a first time home buyer, whatever What kind of products do you use to help people get into a house?
So we have a lot of different products. So we have your VA loans. We love to help veterans to utilize their benefits. We have conventional loans that you can have as little as 3% down if you're a first-time buyer, first-time home buyer, sorry, and then 5% and greater from there on conventional. We have FHA, 3.5% down. We have USDA. A lot of people love USDA. We're actually, Movement Mortgage is the #1 lender in the country for USDA.
I didn't know that.
We are. It's exciting, and that's 2 years running. So
I didn't know that.
we are. It's exciting.
That's amazing.
Yes. So if you're looking for no money down and you can buy an eligible area, that's a great program. And then we have THDA, which is a first-time home buyer down payment assistant. We have Movement Boost, which is also a down payment assistance program, but not just for first-time home buyers. So it's a pretty cool program. Basically, when someone applies for a loan, we just look at all the options that are available and we present them, and then they decide what's best for them and their family. So
you have just basically an assortment of options. So more or less, somebody's going to be able to work with you in some capacity
yes.
to be able to find a home, which is awesome.
Absolutely. I had a recent loan that I couldn't do, and a bank approved him. And when he came to me, he had already spent $2,000 appraisal, home inspection, everything. And they turned him down. It was a big national bank. He thought he might as well do business with his bank. And they declined him. Well, he didn't fit the guidelines of Fannie and Freddie. So my credit union that I work with, they did the loan for him in 2 weeks. So he didn't miss his closing. He got the home. And, of course, I didn't make money off of it, but I was definitely the hero. He's relocating here. So it's always good. If I don't have a product available, I'm going to find somebody that can help them.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, and so that again comes to one of my pet peeves is non-local lenders, and there's very few people in the banking world that I would say are who I would necessarily trust with a referral, right? I mean, there are a couple, but for the most part, corporations, people come and go. You don't know how much experience somebody has at the bank. Again, their attention may be on something else, but that's the type of story you don't want to hear with your client is, hey, I'm in the process of buying this house, and I just found out 2 weeks into this 4-week process that they can't approve me. Same thing goes with online lenders. I've had deals where 2 days before closing, and they're still trying to give you some reason of how they can get this done, but they can't get it done in time. And being also a seasoned veteran, I know when I'm smelling, garbage, and so typically those deals don't close, and it's too late in the game to change routes. So this is why we always recommend a local lender, and specifically somebody that we've worked with a lot. Has nothing to do with there's no kickbacks, there's no money changing hands, what there is a relationship, there's trust, there's communication. Probably the biggest part. One of the things that's so hard when working with an online lender is that person could be in California, they could be in Chicago. The fact of the matter is they don't know me.
No.
They don't know how many deals that we've done. We didn't refer them anybody, so you're just, as a consumer, you're just another lead that they bought. And if your deal doesn't work out, they go on to the next one.
Right.
They don't lose any sleep over that.
A lot of them are at a call center, and it's just dialing for dollars and really not looking at the end about getting a family in a home on time. Because in this market, if you don't close on time, you may not get to purchase the house.
And what a lot of people don't understand, there is a financial contingency in the contract for getting approved for a loan, yes. There is no contingency for my loan isn't ready in time.
Exactly.
Right? The closing date is the closing date. And if you aren't ready to close, the seller could say, hey, you're in default. I'll keep the earnest money and sell it to somebody else.
Which is not good.
I mean, and people don't realize that. They think an extension, and a lot of lenders think an extension is just a given. Oh,
Right.
we're not ready to close. We'll have to extend it for a couple of days. Well, no, it's not that easy. The seller's got moving trucks. Like they have to agree to this said extension.
Exactly.
You know, they've already done these repairs. Like we're already this far into the game, and you're just like, hey, we need an extension. That's not how it works.
No, there's a lot of moving parts, and I want it to be as smooth and as streamlined as possible. And I work with the title companies where they're coming from, the realtor. I try to make it very smooth. And it's really, I mean, I'm an extension of you, and if I don't do a great job, it's going to make you look bad.
So in that is the fundamental difference between the two. Yeah, ABC Loan Company out of wherever, West Texas or something, they might be able to offer you a slightly better rate, but man, that rate doesn't matter if you can't get in the home.
Exactly.
And no amount of money will make it okay if you're, sleeping in a hotel and all your stuff is in moving trucks, but the loan officer isn't ready to close, right? And so those examples are true stories. Like that stuff happens. So anyways, so kind of moving on, we put the foundation of where this relationship is and why we trust you with our referrals. One is definitely experience, a long relationship, and two, you just get the job done. We've never had any sort of complaint or issue with any of the loans or any of the deals we've done together.
Awesome.
Honestly, most of the time you're
Don't
ready.
jinx me.
Most of the time you're ready to close like a week or so early.
Yes.
So when you were talking about the loan products that you offer, I noticed a common theme. There seemed like there was a lot of opportunities for people to move into a home with little to no money down.
Definitely. It's hard to believe that buyers still think that you have to pay 20% down. I hear it every day. You're like, when you ask them, what's taking you so long to look at purchasing a home? Well, I've been saving. I need 20%. And I hear it all the time. And these are seasoned people that will say that, and so it's just not correct. So literally you can get in the home depending if you're a first-time home buyer or not. There's down payment assistance for that, but just a normal buyer doing a conventional loan, they could do it for 5%. To save 20% and wait that long, I really feel like buyers are missing the boat, because once you purchase, you're starting to appreciate, your house is appreciating, you're making payments, the principal's coming off of the loan.
This is one I think a lot of people don't think about when they're thinking about, like, is now a good time for me to buy? I know they think about, okay, well, mortgage rates are this, today, housing prices are this, I'll just wait and continue to rent. And I know one of the things we kind of want to talk about is like rent versus buy, but right. when you're making that consideration, you got to realize that you're not just waiting for, say, rates to come down so your payment's a little bit more affordable. When you add another year, number one, you're paying a year's worth of rent. Mm-hmm. Okay, that benefits you at all. Like you're just
no benefit
at all to that. Okay, number two, you're losing equity, like not just equity, but that house is going to be probably 5% more expensive. Exactly. Not only are you going to pay for that 5%, but you could have been the benefactor of that 5%.
Exactly.
Right? So that's really like a 10% swing, right? So you start thinking about how much it costs you to wait when you have potentially the ability to go ahead and pull the trigger. Now, we all know those people who right now is not a good time, right? They do need to do some things. They maybe need to work on their credit. Maybe they do need to save up, because you should
have closing costs and prepaids.
You should have some money,
right? You need money.
Yeah, and let's say homeownership comes with responsibilities, so you should be in a position where if the home needs some maintenance, you should be able to fix it up. I would not say somebody should be able to move into a house and like a broke person shouldn't move in.
Right. It'd be scary, because if one incident happens,
and
they may not be able to afford the home anymore. So that's not smart. You need a little bit of money.
You need a little bit of money. So, but with all that being said, if you're in a financial position that it makes sense, which the only way you would know that is by having a conversation
Exactly.
and maybe running through some numbers, then really sooner is better than later for your financial well-being.
Right. I love our buy versus rent tool. So when people are really on the fence, sometimes just that quick conversation and to show them the figures, they're like, why have I been waiting this long? And so, and two, when and if rates go down, which they are predicted to, if you have waited all this time, then you're going to have a lot more competition when they go down because a lot of people are waiting for the rates to go down. So why not get in the home now? Get the home now because you're going to have more competition if you wait for the magical rate.
This is a true story. I mean, I've read so many articles about how once we start getting below like 6%, that will unlock a lot of people that will jump into the market. And if we don't have an increase in inventory between now and then,
Scary.
well, yeah, it what do you think home prices are going to happen when there's more buyers than there are today and there's not any more houses?
Exactly. Inventory is already way low. I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of scary.
So, and with that being said, again, the whole part about there since 2020, well, a long time before that, honestly, but since 2020, we have had this uptick in what we would call like the crash brothers. You know, like you can get on YouTube and Google market crash, and you'll find all these videos of people saying the same thing over and over and over again. And I don't know how some of these channels, I mean, this guy's been literally saying for 4 years, he's been saying the market's going to crash. Well, in those 4 years, you know how much property values have gone up?
Exactly.
So people who are not getting this information from true professionals, not getting true advice, are losing so much
A lot
potential.
of money. Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
home values have gone up. They lost out on the equity. Plus, when they do buy, they're going to have to pay that price.
Right.
Rents have gone way up. So they're just giving that money away and paying somebody else's, paying off somebody else's loan basically on that property. It's crazy. And then to hear that there's all these loan products that you guys have available that they could figure out a way to get in. And having, again, thank you for the introduction to Trey Perry. Having also a tool like that is in your pocket to, again, with this, to kind of solve for this low inventory puzzle of, hey, this house could work. It's in a great location, but it needs a little bit of work. We can make that happen. So
that's a great tool. And Trey, I mean, he's like number one in the company in reno. So he can do a reno loan very fast, and he's great at it. So I love to partner with him.
So if you haven't seen that video or listen to that podcast, definitely check it out. It'll be in the list, and that's a renovation loan one with Trey Perry Movement Mortgage. So one of the things we want to talk about, we talked about payments, like down payments, and the myth kind of associated with that. Lots of options, but what about credit scores? Like, do I have to have an 800 credit score to buy a home?
It's nice if you have an 800 credit score, but you certainly don't have to have 800. Most of our loan programs, depending on what it is, we can go as low as 580. And a lot of times when a buyer comes to me, they may be like at 540, but I can guide them as to what they need to do very quickly in most cases to maybe pay down a credit card or maybe pay off that medical collection so it can be deleted. It's like a blueprint. We basically put their credit in a simulator through our credit vendor, and we tell them specifically, and I give them a copy of it. They know exactly if they're not ready now, how long it's going to take, and what they need to do. Sometimes literally it is just a matter of 30 days. In a medical collection, that was a new thing that came about, that when you pay medical, it is required to be deleted. And there's still a lot of medical collections that are still on there by mistake. And some have been paid, just not deleted. So I will let them know the blueprint. Hey, this is what you need to do. You need to pay down this credit card. And a lot of people want to close their credit. They think that's the smartest thing. Let me close some credit before I apply for a mortgage. And that's the worst thing you can do. So I try to educate them on the front end. don't close credit, even if you just wait down the road. Maybe after you buy, get the mortgage, if it's that important to you, then just close it after the fact.
Well, yeah. Okay, so having an open line of credit doesn't really hurt you. It actually helps you because it your credit utilization, it
Exactly.
helps that out. As long as you don't have a balance on it, what harm is it causing you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not. It's benefiting you.
So just out of curiosity, how much does it cost a consumer to have you help them with their credit?
Movement does that for the buyers, which is a big expense. But I mean, we're very dedicated to helping people with
So
homeownership.
there's no fee associated
No,
with.
no.
So, because I mean, I know there's places out there that charge for stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of lenders will just say, hey, go to this credit repair company and they'll help you out. That's a long process and it's very expensive. And most people are just on the brink of qualifying. I mean, it's normally very simple tweaks. It's rare that I have to tell someone it's going to take you a year. And sometimes it does, but in very rare cases.
Wow, that's crazy. That okay, I just
It's
wrapping my
exciting.
yeah wrapping my mind around the fact that there are people out there who maybe have some credit challenges, don't know what to do. That they could come to you, start talking to you about what it looked like to buy a house, and in the process get the steps that it takes to
Exactly.
get in the right spot.
Exactly.
Um,
And, not all mortgage companies have the same guidelines. So, one company may have a 660 credit score and I may have 620. So, when a buyer is looking to purchase, don't just take the first no if you don't qualify. Maybe they're a broker and they have overlays, meaning they have a little bit stricter guidelines, is what that means. So, it really pays to compare because we, in most cases, have a lower credit score requirement. Of course, with THDA, the bond program, the first-time home buyer, the score is the score is the score. So every lender would have a 640.
gotcha.
But the other programs we may have, and in most cases we do, have lower credit score requirements.
So, so are those the two biggest hangups you see for people who currently, let's say they're not a homeowner today? Is that typically where you see them hung up on becoming a homeowner? Is it down payment and credit?
Absolutely. And a lot of people do think you have to have, an 800 credit score, and you don't. So most buyers are qualified now, but they're scared. They don't know who to turn to, what to ask. They're very intimidated by the process. So I try to put them, give them a peace of mind. It's really an easy process. You just have to start the line of communication, to say, hey, these are my goals, and then I help them get there.
And that's awesome. So really, communication is really the first part.
It is.
It's probably the most important part about everything.
True.
And I will say that's probably another big separator between someone like you and getting on some website like Lending Tree and just getting connected with some Joe Schmo somewhere else in a call center. You actually are going to take time to set somebody up correctly.
Exactly.
So that they can, achieve that goal.
Just asking the questions and being diligent and make sure you know the big picture so there are no surprises at the end.
That's exactly it. You definitely don't want surprises,
No.
especially at the end.
Especially.
So if I'm starting that process, let's say, what should I be prepared to potentially pay for out of pocket, right? I mean, I know, we talk about like 100% financing options, but even 100% financing option is going to require some cash in the process. So walk me through what it looks like on your end, and I'll add a little bit of what we see on our end.
So on my end, even if it was 100% financing, your closing cost, depending on the purchase price, you're probably looking at 3 to 6% in closing cost and prepaid. So prepaids, that's just setting your escrow up for your taxes and insurance. So even if it were 100%, you still need to anticipate the 3 to 6%. Again, depending on purchase price. And the only money that we collect out of pocket before the loan closes is the appraisal fee. So everything else is paid on closing day.
Okay.
So that's a good rule of thumb. Not exact, but a good rule of thumb.
So, and an appraisal fee used to be the standard. I would say it was normally what 450, $500. Now
We're seeing 550 to 650 on single family.
okay.
They've gone back down.
Yeah, because around 2021, appraisers were getting whatever they could for an appraisal.
It was the wild, wild west.
It was. I saw some that were like 700, $750, and yeah. Okay, so still in the low fives for an appraisal. On our end, you're gonna want to have, again, depending on purchase price, you're gonna have that 1% of the contract price for your earnest money deposit. So if you're buying a $300,000 house, we're gonna try to, that's something we've seen sellers accept, $3,000 to go into an escrow account for you. Then we're always gonna recommend people get a home inspection.
Always, yes.
And so, to be prepared for that, you're gonna expect about $500. That's about an average. Again, that depends typically on what all you want to have inspected. If you want to add on anything like radon or a termite inspection is going to cost you about $75. So you can just figure say $600 for a home inspection. So right there we're 3,600. You're going to have another, let's just say 500. So we're in that 4,000, a little over $4,000 range. If you're getting 100% financing, do I get any of that back?
So you can. I mean, what you put in is what you can get back. You can't get back. So, for example, if the seller paid all the closing costs and prepaids, which is rare in this market, and you've paid for your appraisal up front, you do get that back.
Okay.
And of course, you get your earnest money credit as well. So
yeah, earnest money always goes towards your purchase at closing. So
exactly.
you close on the home. It accounts. You're accounting for it. So
Yes.
awesome. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about some of these mortgage products as far as when you say conventional, what does that mean?
So conventional really is it's a great program. You do have to have a little bit higher credit score because if your score is low, where the guidelines allow you to be, you don't always get approved. Because it's an automated underwriting system and it takes everything into account, time on job, your credit score, your reserves, the money that you have in the bank and what's going to be left over once you purchase the home. So conventional, if you can, if you're not a veteran, conventional is a great program because it has the private mortgage insurance is a lot lower. So if you can, you would use conventional.
Okay.
It's still a low, down. First-time home buyers 3%, and if you're not, 5%. So conventional, if your credit is where it needs to be, is the way to go.
Okay.
But if you're a veteran, even if you want to put 5% down, a VA loan, them using their benefits is definitely the way to go.
Okay.
All times a veteran should use a VA loan.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean why do you say that though? What makes it so special?
Well, first of all, they've earned it. It's their benefits. They, served our country, and it is a great benefit for them. And lenders will sometimes say it's not the best loan. Well, if you compare it, and we always compare, but sometimes the lenders say it because they are not approved to do VA loans. So if you are a veteran, you always want to look at that first. So I compare it. And a lot of people don't know that if the veteran had a 10% or greater service-related disability, you don't even have the VA funding fee.
Oh, really?
So it makes it even more appealing, and no private mortgage insurance. So, and it's very forgiving as far as credit. So when I compare, I'd say 9 times out of 10, it's always going to be VA for the veteran.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Even with money down.
Okay. So then when we're talking like say an FHA product,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm sure there's a lot of people have used FHA to buy a house. I've used FHA to buy a house.
Yes.
Because it would be what most people would consider like a first time home buyer kind of deal, even though it's not, right?
Exactly. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer. Normally, when a buyer does FHA, it is normally because of credit, because they don't quite meet the conventional credit score. So it might be used due to credit. And they allow for higher debt to income ratios, believe it or not. So there's a reason to choose the program, and typically it's, again, what your ability to repay is. So FHA allows for you to go way high. Surprising. So sometimes you would use FHA to have the ability to have a higher debt to income.
So in debt to income ratio, that's like how much my bills are versus how much I make.
Exactly. Yeah, you divide all your debt, not normal living, not power, cable, cell, none of that, but what's on your credit report, like student loans, credit cards, car loans, recreational, that type of thing. You take that debt plus your mortgage debt and you divide it into your gross monthly income.
So when I'm looking at my debts, I'm looking at my minimum payment or
Yes.
my okay.
Definitely minimum payment.
Okay.
Yes.
But you'll help me figure all that
Oh,
out.
yeah. Normally it's on the credit report, and if it's not, then we have to count 5% of the balance as the payment. So, but normally the payments are on there.
So I have credit score, I have my down payment, and I have my debt to income. Those are like the three main
It is.
components.
Yes.
Um, if my debt to income's a little out of whack, can you help me figure out what
Yes.
to do with that?
And what's neat about that is with the programs, you can actually pay the debt off at closing, and we can all eliminate that debt to get you to qualify. So if you're close but you're a little bit over the limit, we don't ask for you to do it ahead of time because that's going to take time. So you can actually pay it off on closing day to get your ratios in line.
So what I'm hearing you say is like if I'm tight on my debt to income ratio, and let's say I have this credit card that I can't afford to pay off, you're saying, hey, don't necessarily do it during the deal
Yeah, definitely don't do it during the
because now we have to wait for that to clear, and then we have to wait for it to report. But you're saying we can handle that at closing,
Yes. Yep.
and it gets paid like that's. Correct me if I'm wrong. The title company like
Title
literally
company.
sends the check.
Right, so
and pays that debt
whatever,
off.
whatever consumer debt that needs to be paid, we have the statement and the payoff. It's on the closing statement, and the title company sends the money to the company. So it's excluded from the debt.
So you help people figure out what down payment they need, and you help people figure out where their debt to income ratio needs to be, and you help them figure out which loan product is best for them.
Exactly. Pretty cool, right?
That's
what I
amazing.
get to do every day.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. So, um, this is where there's always this what comes first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. And I know there's a lot of agents out there that one of the first questions they ask, and we ask it too, but are you pre-approved when we start talking to somebody new? And if somebody's not, then a lot of agents, the average agent would say, well, you need to go get pre-approved first. Like, go talk to a lender, let me know if you're pre-approved. That's not what we do. So, because we want to know if they're pre-approved. One, have they talked to a lender? Two, what did that lender say? But three, we want to put them in touch with one of our trusted advisors who can do all of those things for them.
Exactly.
To make sure that they're in the best hands, in the best shape, and that they're comfortable with. Because I think one thing that consumers are also wary about is, well, what if I get pre-approved? Okay, so let's just say I'm pre-approved for $400,000, but that payment I'm uncomfortable with. Just because you get pre-approved for $400,000 doesn't mean you have to go buy a $400,000 house.
Exactly.
You may want to after we go look at some homes, but you don't have to. You help them also figure out what that looks like at the payment. Like, here's the payment. Work it backwards.
Exactly.
Here's the house. Like, here's the price.
Right. I like to tell them what their maximum amount to qualify for, because if they go out and find the perfect home and they love it and it checks off all the boxes, they already know what the figures are, and they already know that they're qualified. So typically they'll come and say, I want 3 or 350. That's my max. And if they qualify for more, I go ahead and show them figures, because really at the end of the day, it's the perfect home. If they find it, they're willing to not eat out a couple of meals a month, to buy the home. Yeah,
And I mean, you're going to be in that house for years.
exactly.
Right? So you definitely want to start off on the right foot as much as possible. That there's so many moving pieces, so many parts of the puzzle. I can understand why, as somebody who maybe, I mean, the average person doesn't buy a house every year,
Right.
right? The average person doesn't buy a house maybe every 7 to 10 years. And things have changed in the last 7 to 10 years quite a bit.
Quite a bit.
So really, again, it comes back to, you know, I would always prefer people start a conversation with us. We start to talk about, what their situation looks like, but then we do the handoff to you so that you can then basically verify and have all of those conversations, and then basically they come back to us, and we have this open conversation. You say, hey, this is their max. This is where they're comfortable.
Exactly.
Right. This is the loan product, so you know how to write up the contract.
Exactly.
And it gives us the confidence of moving forward. So when they have that letter and we submit it with their offer, it's strong. That means, I mean, that just,
I would hope so. I hope it would give our buyers an advantage, because I'm local and I am experienced. It's got to account for something. If you have 10 offers, you got to start looking at those things.
well, 100%. I will tell you, because obviously we work with buyers and sellers. I can 100% tell you that when we have a house that gets multiple offers, well, any offer, but especially multiple offers, one of the things we're weighing out with our client is, okay, this person has a lender that we've never heard of. This person has a lender that we have heard of, but we haven't had great experiences with. Like, these things really do play into what steps that seller might take, which offer they might go with. So it's I know on the listing side, it's very advantageous to work with somebody that, especially that we already have a relationship with. Let's say we're on the listing side and you happen to be working with a buyer with another agent, then we know, so that's very, very powerful. So what else do you see when you're working with people? Are there any other maybe pitfalls or hurdles that some people may not be aware of that they would be helpful to know ahead of time? Or is there anything else you can kind of think of?
Well, the biggest is closing out accounts. That really kills a credit score. That's definitely not good. Even though we tell them not to apply for credit, they get excited and they want that furniture. And so we tell them right up front, your life's on hold. You don't make any changes. So changing jobs, that's a challenge. I mean, we've had people change jobs and we still closed on time. But again, like you said, communication. So don't go buy that furniture. Even though it's same as cash, you don't have a payment until 2 years down the road, it's still a liability.
If it deals with credit or income,
Exactly.
Talk to you first.
Yes, I just say your life's on hold. If you have any questions about it and you're thinking, you might want to do something, pick up the phone and give me a call.
We had a deal a few years back where we were on the listing side, and the buyer, again, was not a local lender, but the buyer did switch jobs. And what he had told the lender was one thing, and what the reality was another.
Exactly.
And the bottom line was, in that scenario, we did delay closing, but we had to delay it until he had enough pay stubs to show that he was getting paid what he said he was getting paid.
Right.
So depending on if you change jobs, it could keep you from buying the house.
Absolutely.
Because you may have to wait. Well, if you go from a W-2 to self-employed,
Oh, that's a problem.
that's a problem.
Yeah, that's going to take a lot of time.
So do you work with self-employed people?
I do. We do have great programs for them, but I mean, you're looking for a history in that as well, just like a salary person or a wage earner. So You gotta have proof that, or you can do bank statements. We can get creative, but there is, some type of income verification, whether it's bank statements or tax returns.
So, so when it comes to self-employed people, they be, the main difference is just the income part, like a history of income. Where if you're W-2, you show a history, but it's typically is it not typically a shorter window
Yeah,
or
I mean, it's easier for salary or hourly. With self-employed people, we look at 2 years. And unfortunately, sometimes the tax returns, you have your gross receipts, and then what we use is net profit. And we do have some add backs, but sometimes if you are able to take the full liberty that the IRS allows you to take as far as write offs, sometimes it makes that net profit so low that it could be a challenge. So that's, you have to be mindful of that. And sometimes people will say, I wrote everything off. My net profit is not good. And then we say, okay, then let's look at a bank statement loan. So there are other opportunities.
that's really something. So going back to having that conversation kind of early, if I'm self-employed and I'm either thinking about maybe I own a home and I want to sell it and buy another one, I need to have that conversation early so
Definitely.
that we can prepare, like before we file taxes,
Right.
because that could be, you may be able to give advice on how. Sometimes it's not bad to pay taxes,
Right.
right? Like, and then I know that sounds funny, but when you want to buy a house, showing you made money
It's
is
important.
important, and that makes your life a lot easier. Yeah, is it going to cost you a little bit more on taxes? Yes, but you want to be able to buy the house,
Exactly.
right? And so ultimately, that's definitely something to be considered. But again, that happens with a conversation up front. Accountants,
They're great to work with because they get us all the information that we need for sure.
but they also aren't going to prep them for getting a mortgage,
Exactly.
right?
Most do, not all. But the good thing is we can actually submit the client up to underwriting before they get in your car. We can get all their documentation and have a true underwriter look at the income and say, yep, we're good to go. And so that's really key with some self-employed people for sure.
So yeah, that's a big deal. What is one of your favorite? I mean, I know you help people do all sorts of different stuff, but what are one of your like either favorite loan product or favorite segment of home buyers?
That's a tough one, but I will say definitely VA loans. I love to help veterans. My family is definitely a military rich family. My grandfather was one of 11 siblings, and 8 of them served in the military
Oh wow.
in all branches, but no one represented the Coast Guard. And my father and uncle, they did the National Guard. So I love military families to help them. But really, all the loans are just so rewarding because for every buyer that I get to meet, I get to learn their story. What brought them here if they're relocating, or maybe were born and raised here. So I do love all that I do, but definitely VA loans are the most rewarding by
That
far.
that's awesome. So I think we've covered a lot about the mortgage industry. So when it comes to or the mortgage process, so when it comes to that, this is definitely something to that this all starts with a conversation. I
Yeah, and
think that's
don't buy a car during the
don't
process.
buy a car during a process. Don't
I
quit your
must
job.
say that.
Well, and on that note, if there's one thing that I think it holds a lot of people back from being able to become a homeowner, it is going to be that car payment, because that's one of the first things. You when you become an adult,
Exactly.
um, and it's so much easier to get a car, and I don't want to. Um, car salesmen already have their bad rap, right? They already have. I'm not going to add to that.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is they're there to sell a car. They're not going to ask you like, hey, well, just out of curiosity, are you planning on buying a house? Great.
Right.
Well, I
And
can.
it is spur of the moment with some of them. They get so excited. And I'm like, oh, that's tough because they're normally large payments,
It's a large payment. Yeah. I mean, what used to be a $500 payment now is like $1,000
At
payment.
least, yeah.
Well, that's a lot of house.
Yes.
That $500 swing is a lot of house that you could have afforded.
Yeah, sometimes I have to get them help to refinance their car loan because sometimes they were excited to do a real short term, but the payment, is $1,200, and so sometimes, I call the credit union and say, "Hey, what can you do on this
Stretch
year?
that term out to get to.
What's the longest? What's the score?" And then I tweak the numbers and make sure it works before they actually do it. But yeah, car payments can be dicey at times, especially when you buy a car during the process.
I like how you use outside resources to help solve for the problem.
Definitely.
So it sounds like you have decent relationships with other bank-like entities, credit unions and whatnot, to help people get stuff done, and that's awesome. So I want to talk about a little bit stuff more on a little bit more of a more personal level here. You said you've lived in Knoxville how long?
Since 1987.
Okay, so a hot minute.
A hot minute. I've lived here longer than where I came from, which is Alabama.
Ooh.
So I am a Roll Tide fan.
Oh,
Sorry, but I am also.
Can we bleep that out?
No. But I've lived here longer, so no matter what, if UT beats Alabama, it's fine. I love both of the teams, but that's my hometown, so
Gotcha.
I always pull for them.
So what do you like about living in Knoxville? Like, what keeps you here? You've been here a long time. What keeps you here?
I can't imagine living anywhere else. I love the mountains. I love the seasons. I love all the lakes that we have. I'm not a hiker, but if I ever become a hiking person, there's trails everywhere. I love that there's no state income tax. So where I came from, they have it. And just the community here. So when I moved here, I was 21 years old, didn't know a soul, nobody. And I opened up a Transamerica financial office and just hit the ground running and have not looked back. I would not live anywhere else but East Tennessee.
Oh, yeah, well, I love it too. I mean, that's why we're here. So I'm gonna ask you a slightly different question. If there was something you could change about Knoxville, what would it be?
Well, what I perceive as, traffic, people laugh at me. They're like, oh my goodness, this is the best place. I mean, 40 takes you to everywhere, right? Yeah. So to me, there's a lot of traffic, but other people are like, this is great. This is so really.
It's perspective.
Yeah, it is.
I see that a lot in definitely like on social media, especially from people who've been here a long time. I moved here in 2007. I grew up outside of Orlando. Back then, traffic, we experienced way more traffic than what we experience here. Is it frustrating at times? Especially when you're used to getting from one point to another point in like 10 or 15 minutes.
Exactly.
And in that moment, there's traffic.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say from everybody I've been interviewing on these podcasts, we have the same common themes, and traffic's one that pops up. But it is perspective because, man, you come from Nashville, Atlanta, you come from some big city, out west, Chicago, New York. You're not going to find this to be traffic.
Definitely. So I hated to even say it. I knew that was. But I mean, it is a
right.
lot more, than when I moved here for sure.
Well, and to everybody's point, that has commented on it, like we haven't had a whole lot of change in our infrastructure road-wise. We do have the road coming off of up there north of Level, which should be done soon.
That's gonna be nice.
That'll be a nice connector for people to take. But as far as like interstate, main roads, there hasn't been a whole lot done, and we've had a ton of people move here. The whole South has had a ton of people move. So it's just a problem we all have to deal with. What's one of your favorite places to eat at?
Oh, goodness. I'm a foodie. I love food. So for a special occasion, I love Fleming's. That's always my go-to.
Which is right here in Turkey Creek.
It is. It's wonderful. And I love Connors and Chop House. They're owned by the same and they're wonderful. Like I go to like Connor's Steak. You know, it's better than Chop House. It's kind of weird. And then, you know, Chop House has deviled eggs and pork chops and burgers and all that. But just every day to kind of catch all would probably be Calhoun's, because the menu, I mean, no matter what you eat, you're going to be able to find something there.
Yeah.
So I could go on and on. I love the, the food part of it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What are some of your favorite area activities, things you like to do around Knoxville, like outside of work and whatnot? What do you like to do?
Well, of course, I love the lake. I mean, anytime I can get on the lake, and it's just it's beautiful. So lake, and I don't really like to shop, so I do like to do a lot of internet shopping. So mostly just being outdoors.
Outdoors.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna touch on the lake thing because we're we're buddies on boats.
That's right.
So yeah, we got the privilege in the last. So I think last year was our first full summer. I think with our boat. And I would say my two favorite things to do around Knoxville is, one is definitely to be out on the boat on the lakes. And if you've not experienced, if you're coming from somewhere else, and you know, it's one thing to look at the lake from the road or from the dock. It's another thing to be on the boat and to go down, you know, the river, the lake, whatever you want to call it, and to see the mountains and to see the homes on the, you know, just to see it, or to go through, to lock through the dam.
Can't wait to do that. I've always wanted to do it.
It's so much fun.
Y'all been to Chattanooga on the boat, right?
We have we've gone well, actually we've gone all the way to Alabama with some buddies on their boat.
That's cool.
Yeah, so
It gives you a different perspective. Looking
does.
at houses from the water, and it's just beautiful. And you have wildlife out there. You'll see deer and all kind of stuff. It's nice.
Literally, I think it was that trip to. It was either the trip to Alabama or the trip to Chattanooga. One of the 2 years, we had deer swimming across the river in front of the boat.
That is so cool to see.
It was wild.
Yes, and they're fast. I mean, they just hum across the lake.
It was wild. All right, so one thing that has always impressed me about you is your involvement in the community. It's something that I know Terry, Joe, and I have worked hard to be, as well as involved in, you know, local charities and service projects. And you're I would say you're a hard act to follow.
Y'all set the bar pretty high too.
Well,
Y'all are very giving, and I love that about giving back to the community.
so what are some of the charities that you've been involved with in recent years?
So Wesley House and Second Harvest.
When you Wesley House, what does Wesley House do?
So Wesley House is after school care and summer care for lower income students. So it gives them a place to go where they're not staying at home by themselves, and they get to do great activities in the summer. And then also they have a component that they help senior citizens that live below poverty level. And so they range from 65 to I think 93. And they're the neatest group of, there's actually a man in the program now. So they're all female and one male. And I think they can't have more than 30 in the program. But to go and feed them and do bingo, and the prizes are necessities like dishwashing detergent and stuff like that, Kleenex, paper towels. It is fun. And they are serious about bingo. So I love, they have also a food pantry. And so they just really help the community that really needs it. And it's pretty cool.
I heard something. So first of all, they service mainly, correct me if I'm wrong, it's the Mechanicsville and Beaumont areas, right?
Yes.
Neighborhoods. But I heard something. Correct me on this, but were you part of the catalyst for the food pantry starting?
It was fun, yes. Me and Val Privet, the schools, they just shut down. I mean, overnight, we thought it was just going to be a very short window, but I mean, that's where a lot of students count on their meals coming from, is school. That's why I love Second Harvest. I mean, they have the backpack program and the kids take the food home. But when the schools shut down, there's no food. So we just, Val and I got together and we're like, you know what, we got to get the stables. Like, it has to happen. And the whole community came together. We just made the call out and picked it up. She has a trailer and we were just moving food around and everybody came together.
And so now they have a working food pantry.
Yeah, I think they got the #1 food pantry last year, I think, from Second Harvest.
Wow.
I don't know, they got an award, so we're definitely proud, and I'm glad that it continues to grow because there is a great need for the food.
That's awesome. So, okay, so that's Wesley House and then Second Harvest.
Yes.
What do they do?
I love them. They basically provide food for the underserved, and it is just great. I mean, every year, well, we're getting ready to do our kickoff for Hunger Action Month. It's in September, so in August, we'll have a kickoff breakfast with Blunt Partners and the Farragut Chamber. And then there's always a call, an appeal for some type of food. Last year was macaroni and cheese. Last year peanut butter. The year before mac and cheese. So people will come and attend and network, have fun, and then bring whatever their need is. So I think they serve maybe 11 counties, maybe 13. So it's where a lot of people get their food from that need it. So it's awesome. And the backpack program, I cannot even stand the thought of a kid going hungry, for sure.
I think that's one of the cool parts about this region. Well, so okay, it's kind of a double-edged thing. One of the hard parts about this region is, the mountain areas have always been a little on the poor side, right? Appalachia is not a wealthy area.
Right.
So you get outside of Knoxville, there's definitely a need in a lot of those areas for especially older people. You get into the city, then you have like the reverse. You have younger people and older people, but again, talking about the children and stuff, like we deal with big city problems just like any other city. But what is amazing, we're the volunteers, and there was a period of time where Terry Jo and I were checking out all these different charities, and I realized, I was like, man, it's almost overwhelming the amount of service that goes on in our town, in our area.
There's a lot of resources for people in our area. I mean, every day I learn of another nonprofit, and I didn't know they're at our back door. So it's good to find out about them because our clients may need the service.
Right.
And we have a lot of opportunity to help people on different levels.
So, we named two. Are there any more that you're currently working with, or?
Well, I love Sacred Ground Hospice House. A realtor in the community started it, and it's the only hospice house that I know in our area because the Halls location closed years ago. And so it's just a wonderful place that people in their final days can go into the next life. And I personally know of a lot of realtor families that have used the service, so it's good to have that at our back door. Certainly, if I was on my final days, it's a peaceful place. It's really awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not here, but my grandfather was down in Fort Myers, and we utilized the hospice house down there with him, and it was definitely when you're going through a hard time, it makes it a little easier.
Absolutely.
So yes, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're an active Rotarian.
I am, yes, and I love it.
And that's pretty awesome. So you Terry Jo obviously serves.
Yes.
Our friend Val
Yes.
serves as a Rotarian, and through that, you guys impact a lot of other people and places. I know just this past weekend we had a big service project.
That's awesome.
I say we. I am not a Rotarian, but I
Somebody has to
do.
hold the fort down.
Yeah, but I do support the cause, and I am out there on Saturdays and whatnot. So I use the term we.
Well, your whole team. I mean, they all come together and help whatever the cause is. Sleep in Heavenly Peace is what we're working on now. We just had the golf tournament and raised the money to build beds. I mean, it's hard to believe that kids in our community that they don't have beds. It's like, how is that possible? And so April 13th, we get to use that money to build beds.
That's
And
awesome.
I know you're going to be there. It's going to be
I will be
a lot
there.
of fun. So
I will be there.
Yes.
No, it is awesome. So those are some of the things that I think a lot of people don't think about. I mean, obviously, every area is going to have people in various stages of life and life issues.
right.
Some of the other services around here that we've supported or have been a part of. There's a oh, now I'm gonna draw a blank on the name, but there's two downtown that help with homelessness.
Oh yeah, Volunteer Ministries.
VMC, yeah, Volunteer Ministry is a big one.
Carm.
And Carm, both of them. Thank you. Both of those have done a lot to help with people experiencing homelessness. That was something that a term that VMC kind of told me. They're not homeless; they're people experiencing homelessness.
Makes sense.
And so, obviously there are some people that are easier to reach than others, but we do have just like any other city, we have a homeless population. So I don't want anybody moving here to think that it's all,
Right.
roses and rainbows.
It's that way everywhere.
It's that way everywhere. But what I will say is we have a great community of people who are always trying to help.
Definitely.
And I think that makes a world of difference. So if you are moving here and you're looking to get involved in the community, let us know. We're happy to connect you because there's bound to be something.
Absolutely.
There's bound to be, because there are just so many people who are giving of their time, energy, and resources to help others. There's bound to be something that you align with, and it definitely,
There's always a way to plug in.
there is.
What are your gifts and what do you like? And we can help anyone find a great place to put some of their efforts and energy in, for sure.
That's awesome, and that's what it's real important to Terry, Joe, and I that we've been not to use an overused term, but we've been blessed with what we've been able to do business wise. We both come from different backgrounds. Never imagined we'd be where we're at today, and so to be able to give back to the community, whether again it's time, resources, or energy,
Exactly.
is just very awesome, and it's something that we incorporate, as you mentioned, with our team.
That's awesome.
So they may not always want to get out of bed on a Saturday morning.
But once they get there.
But once they get there, they're all in. They're all in. And you know what? There's nothing that feels better than making a difference.
It does. You're exactly right. Y'all do a good job of it.
So I know we got other things to do. I can sit here and talk to you all day about the stuff around Knoxville, but I just want to say, first of all, thank you for spending some time with us. Thank you for breaking down what there's a lot of people out there right now who are tired of the rent situation. They want to be homeowners and they don't know how. So I appreciate you kind of breaking down what it takes and opening up basically your door.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, you listen to this podcast, watch this video, you know who to reach out to start that process. And it is a process. All you got to do is start it.
Exactly.
Once you start it, next thing you know, you're going to be a homeowner, and that can change your life forever.
Definitely.
So I appreciate you, Vicki.
Well, thanks for having me. Maybe our next podcast we can do it on the lake.
That would be fun. That would be fun. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and sign off on this one. Y'all have a great day.